What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike. Today I'm gonna make a quick video in response to a question. This is another one of these things. This was left on my video debunking the myth that the fucking androgen receptor needs time to go on vacation so that it can do its work again, that you need to cycle off androgens because you saturate your androgen receptors and then they downregulate, and there's zero scientific evidence of this. And so Danny K605 asked in my comments, he said, "Love your content, bro. Here's a question. What about kidney health? I've heard people talking all the time, Vigorous Steve, I think, about how Tren is going to fry your kidneys. I don't know, though, just relaying information." It's like, why are you doing that? Like, he admits that he doesn't know if Trenbolone will fry your kidneys, but somebody else said so. So he's making the comment on my video saying, well, what about this? I guess he's asking the question, what do I think about the fact that there's a preponderance of people in the bodybuilding community that keep claiming that steroids destroy your kidneys. He says that, you know, he's currently on TRT and he's thinking about bumping it up. And so what I've taken to doing when people leave these comments, especially when they make claims, like if a person says, well, you know, bro, Trenbolone destroys your kidneys, rather than getting all triggered and fucking, you know, going off on them, I've just taken to just questioning them. Like, okay, so you think Trenbolone destroys your kidneys. Please explain for the audience, how does it do that? 100% of the time that I've asked that question, person disappears. Because they're full of shit and they have no fucking idea what the fuck they're talking about. They're just parroting bro science. Nobody actually knows, which is what I'm going to prove today. And so I asked him that question. I said, how does it do that? Please enlighten me. He says, I don't know, sir. I am not an expert. Vigorous Steve said so. Vigorous Steve said so. I never tried Tren. And I said, okay, well, then did he explain how it damages the kidneys? You know, and I appreciate the comment. This guy's clearly a fan. I appreciate you giving me an excuse to make this video. I've said many times in the past, I wish you guys would give me topics to do videos on. So I'm definitively not trying to hate on you. I'm just giving an example of of the things I get in my comments and how it makes my brain kind of malfunction. So you've got this guy who seems to be asking a genuine question, and his genuine question is caused by something that somebody else said. But if Vigorous Steve made a video about it, then he either A, answered the question and explained in detail how Tren fries your kidneys, in which case there's no reason to be asking me about it because somebody else already answered it. I have not seen any evidence that Trenbolone fries your kidneys, so I'm suspecting that Vigorous Steve did not prove that. And if Vigorous Steve did in fact make a video supposing that Tren fried your kidneys and didn't offer any actual factual fucking data to explain how it does that, then you should definitely not listen to him. I mean, that makes no sense. It's like if I fucking told you tomorrow that starting on January 20th of 2025, the sun is going to start rising in the west and setting in the east. Just because I said it is. Are you guys going to go turn around and tell everybody you know, hey man, did you hear that in 2025 the sun is suddenly going to start rising in the west and setting in the east? I fucking hope you're not going to do that. I fucking hope that if somebody comes to you and tells you that the sun is magically going to start rising in the west and setting in the east, you're going to have some fucking questions. But in the bodybuilding community, that's not what we see. People don't have any questions. They just go, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Wow, that's shit, that's going to be weird, isn't it? So, to give you an idea of how lacking and how stupid the data is when it comes to steroids and kidneys, I, did what I would have done in this case. Before I would go ask Vigorous Steve, hey, do you think Trenbolone damages the kidneys? I would have first just fucking typed it into Google and to see what I could come across. When you type, does Trenbolone damage the kidneys, of course, you don't get any data because there is not any data specifically done on Trenbolone and kidneys. I have some ideas as to why that is. But the top study that you get is what we're going to go over briefly today. I'm probably not going to take the time to clip this into the screen. I will give you the link. I'm going to give you the too long didn't read version, and I suspect that 99.999% of my audience is going to go, well, that was a stupid fucking study, and I don't even want to waste my time reading it. I don't know why I even wasted my time listening to this, because obviously Mike is always right, and I should have just taken him at fucking face value. But since somebody had to ask and somebody had to do the research, here's an article titled Acute Kidney Injury Associated with Androgenic Steroids and Nutritional Supplements in Bodybuilders. You tell right out the gate, they fucked this one up. Four. Holy shit. We've got a sample size of four bodybuilders who injected anabolic steroids. At this point, it doesn't tell us which ones. And ingested commercial protein 78 to 104 grams per day and creatine 15 grams per day. Products presented with serum creatinine levels between 229.8 and 335 umoles. I forget what that stands for. Which breaks down to 2.6 or to 3.8 milligrams per deciliter. Renal biopsies revealed acute tubular necrosis. That would be kidney damage. And 4 weeks after discontinuing the injections and the supplements, serum creatinine level was in the normal range, and estimated glomerular filtration rate was less than 1 milliliter per second or 60 milliliters per minute, including 2 patients with biopsies showing greater than 30% interstitial fibrosis and tubular atrophy. These findings highlight a risk for acute and potentially chronic kidney injury among young men abusing steroids and using excessive amounts of nutritional supplements. So right out the gate, for those of you who don't spend a lot of time reading supplements, or you've never written computer code, or you've never done like basic logic thinking tests, there's a key word that you need to pay attention to here, because it really matters when it pertains to the study. That word is and. And is actually really important in this study. When they say acute injury associated with androgenic steroids and nutritional supplements, notice the difference, and not or. When you're doing science like this, and versus or is a really big deal. In order for this study to be proven true, both cases need to be true. Or one case needs to be true and the other not. That's what you're trying to determine. The and or really matters. And so in this case, what they did was they set up a study where only 4 bodybuilders, we know nothing about their prior health, we know nothing about their genetic histories, how long they've been blasting, what kind of drugs they've been using. We know nothing about them. We just have 4 fucking random self-proclaimed bodybuilders who are going to eat protein, take creatine, and use steroids during this test, and then they're going to check their kidney function at the end. It admits in the study that the daily protein intake was as high as 300 to 550 grams per day. Hopefully all of you know that eating obscenely large amounts of protein stresses a number of parts in your body, including your kidneys. In fact, it says the high protein intake has been a concern to nephrologists because it increases glomerular filtration rates and is experimentally associated with glomerular hyperfiltration. Recent evidence indicates that anabolic steroids are directly toxic to glomulari, and segmental sclerosis is the result of podocyte loss mediated by apoptosis through podocyte androgen receptor. Apoptosis is a big word for cell death. So when a cell dies, it's called apoptosis, and so they're saying that it's killing off podocytes. The problem here is that they admit that even in the absence of steroids, eating gigantic fucking quantities of protein is really hard on the body, and it damages the kidneys. So then, of course, you've got creatine, which has direct effect on creatinine levels when you actually do all of this blood work. And so what we're going to get down to, because like I said, I'm going to keep this very short. You can read this absurd terrible, horrible study. And you can look at all of the bullshit that they wrote about various athletes having rhabdomyolysis and acute renal failure. And you can look at all these case reports. Down here somewhere, it actually gets to the point that the steroids being used were testosterone propionate and nandrolone. And then they've got biopsies of the kidney tissues. They've got, they did the whole gamut. And then we get down here to the discussion, and all you really need to read, like you can read through all of this scientific data, and all you really need to read to take this and fucking throw it right out the window is the very last paragraph says, we must emphasize that a specific offending agent cannot be identified in this case material, and it may be the combination of excess creatine and protein with steroid injections that compounds risk not incurred with the individual substances. Our working hypothesis is that underhydration rather than direct toxicity precipitated the kidney injury. So even in this horrifically, terribly run study, they admit two very important things. Because of the structure of the study, and because each individual thing in the study, the creatine, the high protein, and the steroids are all possible causal factors of kidney damage, because they combine them all together in excessively high quantities by their own admission. There was excessive amounts of creatine being used. At the end of the day, even though 2 of the 10 bodybuilders ended up having acute liver damage, they didn't learn anything at all because they don't know which substance to point the finger at. Is it the protein? Is it the creatine? Is it the steroids? Is it the combination of 2 or all 3? They can't possibly know. Which is why when I do studies with steroids, I try to use known variables and then inject one single new compound at a time, so that I can try to figure out what I'm actually feeling. If I try 3 new compounds at once, if I decide to do a cycle of DECA, Proviron, and EQ, then I wouldn't learn much about EQ because I've already taken DECA and Proviron together. I know what they feel like. I've taken them independent. You throw the EQ in, how does that mix with this? That's a terrible fucking study to run to figure out just what EQ feels like. So in this case, again, the study material is a joke, and we see this often every time they try to demonize steroids. I think it's a fucking conspiracy. I think that they know, I think it's well known that steroids have little to no deleterious effects on the body. So they concoct these bullshit ass studies so that they can get you that little scary line that a bunch of idiots are going to grab onto and run with, and they're going to say, see, look, this study found that these guys had kidney failure. Because they didn't read all the data to get down to the actual fucking discussion material where they're like, yeah, 2 out of 10 had a problem, but we can't possibly point the finger at any one particular thing because they were all on a bunch of shit they should have been taking. So even after saying all of that, they further go on to say that the only actual hypothesis that they came up with was not even that it was the steroids or even the total combination of all of the things that they probably shouldn't have been taking to begin with. At the end of the day, they report that it was likely just dehydration that led to the kidney problems. And this is the case basically across the board, no matter what compound you're running, no matter how many steroids you're running, no matter how much protein you're eating. All of this really comes down to 2 things. When you're talking about kidney health, if your kidneys are being injured, there's an overwhelmingly great likelihood that one of 2 or both things are happening. Either A, you have high blood pressure, which will definitively damage your kidneys, and B, and or, see, that's that and or. Either A, you have high blood pressure. That alone can damage your kidneys. Or you're massively dehydrated. That can damage your kidneys. Or the case that you have high blood pressure and you are fucking dehydrated, and that can massively damage your kidneys. So in the overwhelming majority of cases that people get rhabdomyolysis, or their blood work is off on their kidney function, or they get a cystatin C or an EGFR, all of these things, when people start taking Trenbolone, a lot of people will freak out because in the very beginning of taking Trenbolone, you will probably notice that your urine is very dark looking. I don't know why that happens in the very beginning. It could be just some type of your body strange response to the initial effects of the Trenbolone. But in my case, every time I've ever run Trenbolone, I see that in the very beginning that my urine is very dark. I increase my water intake, and then I never have problem with very dark urine looking like Trenbolone itself, unless, of course, I stop drinking enough water, and then it will look very dark again. So I suspect that the only reason that you get the scary dark urine on Trenbolone is just that it upregulates your metabolic function to the point it turns up your body temperature, and so you start using more body water than normal. You're getting night sweats. There's all kinds of things that Trenbolone can do in the body that would lead to dehydration. And so what you're actually seeing in the toilet is not like some sign that you have fucked off your kidneys with 2 Trenbolone injections. It's just that you're having night sweats and your body temperature is running high and you're not drinking enough fluids and you're just generally dehydrated. And so if you go and you add more fluids into your daily intake, you will notice that on any amount of Trenbolone, your urine will look perfectly normal if you stay very well hydrated. So it is until I see some definitive scientific evidence proving otherwise, there is absolutely nothing in the medical literature to suggest that Trenbolone itself is renal toxic. It damages the kidneys in any kind of way. There is absolutely zero evidence of this. What there is lots of evidence of is guys taking Tren, having horrific night sweats, having savage workouts, not drinking enough water, dehydrating themselves, and damaging their kidneys through dehydration and uncontrolled blood pressure, which is also commonly caused by Trenbolone. So if you want my answer based on logic and reason and all of the data that we have available, that is it. Maintain your blood pressure, maintain proper hydration, and it doesn't matter what steroid molecule you're running, you are almost certainly not going to damage your kidneys. Again, this is my bro science. I'm not a doctor. I cannot definitively tell you you're not going to fuck up your kidneys, but I have absolutely zero evidence or proof in my own body from running Trenbolone for over a year at a time. My kidney function always checks out perfectly normal when I am good and well hydrated. So, as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.